Hello guys, it's Yubin here and welcome to a video where I try to recreate a makeup look by BLACKPINK's Jennie, who I love so much, and I'm going to be doing this whilst I talk about body image because I think body image is such an important issue and so many people struggle with it. So I just wanted to make sure that what I wanted to say was being covered. This is just a forewarning. This video is not going to be how to improve your self-confidence overnight, because I'm sorry to tell you, but self-confidence and trying to improve your self-confidence is a process. It's not something that happens overnight. It needs time, it needs effort. And the only reason I'm not making that kind of video is because I couldn't personally relate to it when someone said you should be confident in yourself, you should be loving yourself, when it wasn't something that I felt personally. Also, I apologise if the sun keeps going in and out. It's the UK weather, I can't do anything about it. Sorry. Anyway, hope you enjoy. First, shall we get into the foundation? I have moisturised and now I'm going to use my Makeup Forever Ultra HD foundation stick. I just think the sticks work better for me. I tend to mix two different colours together because one is my sister's, who is a lighter skin tone than me, so her one kind of fits me during winter time, which it now is, and one of them is a darker one for the summer. So I have one in Y225 and the darker one is Y325. And to apply the foundation, I used to use beauty blenders, but yeah, now I don't anymore. I use a brush. It's a stippling brush, I believe, but this one is the Piccasso 135. Apparently I can't read numbers now. Piccasso 131. It's basically like a really dense stippling brush. My first category or subheading that I came up with was the Korean beauty standard versus the Western beauty standard. So I'm not sure if you guys know, if you're into K-pop or K-dramas or Korean entertainment, you probably will. Okay, generalization. But most people in the Korean entertainment industry tend to be very pale. They tend to be very skinny. They tend to have big eyes, sharp noses, all that jazz. Whereas in the Western world, people prefer to be tanned, people prefer to be curvy. I mean, curvy is not really a choice that you have, but people tend to prefer being tanned, being curvy, whilst still being skinny, so I don't really know how that works. But yeah, again, sharp noses, high cheekbone, you know, chiseled cheekbones, chiseled jaws. So as a Korean living in London, you kind of go back and forth between what you think your own beauty standard is, because when you're in London, you're kind of like, do I want to fit into the Western beauty standard or do I want to fit into the Korean beauty standard? It's a complicated process that goes up in here. Okay, so with these foundation sticks, I really use a tiny amount because sometimes if you put on too much, it can look a bit cakey as well. So I literally just, you know, boop, and then get the darker one and just go boop. I don't know if you can see, but I really don't have a lot on it. I kind of cap it in, and my skin is, as I mentioned in my previous video, it's still recovering from Korea. I have a lot of redness, quite a lot of acne right now, so excuse. I just kind of stipple it in. Is this action called a stippling action? I have no idea, but I just kind of dab it in. So the second thing I wanted to talk about was just a bit of my own background. I didn't always have an issue with body image. So I used to do artistic and rhythmic gymnastics as a sport. So in order to be able to jump higher or look lighter and look more effortless and, you know, ethereal, I was always conscious of what I was eating, although for the most part I did eat whenever I wanted to, because doing a sport, you know, you need the energy, but also you pretty much burn everything off whilst you're training. So I was conscious, but I still ate what I wanted to, but in proportion. So I would probably say that my confidence was the highest when I was competing and when I was still training. During this time I was skinny, but I was still toned because I was training. You know, whoever says gymnastics is not a sport, come at me, because I was sweating in those classes. They were so intense. People used to ask me in Korea, are you a professional? When I used to, you know, walk around in my competition tracksuit, and people at the golf range, even in England, if I wore my competition tracksuit to the range, and you can pretty much see this in your peripheral vision, but whenever I did walk past, people would be, you know, turning their heads as I walked past, because I was in my competition tracksuit, most likely. I know it sounds really superficial coming from my own mouth, and it sounds like I'm boasting about it, but so as superficial as it does sound coming from my own mouth, it did make me feel good about myself. So just because of the opinions that people had of me, it made me feel good about myself, and it made me feel like I had some sort of value. This was also a time when me and my sister could still share all of our clothes. Basically, her wardrobe was my wardrobe was her wardrobe, and people who know me in real life might find it hard to believe, because my sister is a stick. Not in a bad way, but you know, she's a lot skinnier than me. I used to be very petite until I started gaining muscle from gymnastics. I also had a really late growth spurt at probably when I was 16, I want to say. At the age of 12, I was 25 kilos, which I don't know how heavy that is in stones or pounds, but it's very light, it's very small, because I was very petite and I was very skinny. And I also was the shortest in my year, apart from body image. I also struggled with, you know, I'm Asian, I'm Korean, and we came to England when sushi wasn't a thing, Korean barbecue wasn't a thing, so yeah, trying to adjust in those times was rough, and I started to pretty much hate everything that looked Asian about me. So it pretty much got to the point where I hated every feature that made me look Korean. And I used to ask my mum, why can't I be half white? Keep in mind, I was 5 at the time, and I was, and still am, dumb. I'm going to powder my face to set it. So I have recently been using the Makeup Forever Ultra HD microfinishing pressed powder. I'm also going to use a fan brush, a flat brush. A brush looking like this. Yeah, I don't know where this one's from. My sister got it and I stole it off her, but it's this one. What happened when I quit gymnastics? So I actually had to quit gymnastics. It was a whole combination of I injured my back, so I couldn't bend or do anything with it for about 6 months. My coach also moved clubs, so it would have been probably an hour to commute to training and then back home. And my mum also saying that I should probably be focusing on studies, because pursuing gymnastics as a career is just not feasible. It's extremely expensive. The leotards itself is ridiculous. The training, my god. Yeah, so it was a whole combination. When I'm powdering my face, I basically just press it in so that it locks it into place. I have no idea if it actually does, but that's what I do. So once I quit gymnastics, commence probably the lowest my self-confidence has ever been, and the worst image of my body that I had. So basically, because I stopped training altogether, but I was still eating the same amount, more or less, it led to me putting on a lot of weight in a very short period of time. I just ended up binge eating, and this was pretty much a vicious cycle because I'd binge eat, feel bad about myself, hate the way I looked, then binge eat some more to comfort myself, then feel bad again, then eat again. So it was this vicious cycle that just never stopped. So it pretty much got to the point where I was crying over going shopping or trying on the clothes that I used to have because they just didn't fit me anymore. So I became very obsessed with trying to find clothes that were in my old size that would have fit me when I was training. And even if they were too tight or looked weird on me, I would still try to convince myself that it looked okay because it was in the size that I used to wear. So that was the immediate effect of me quitting gymnastics. I am going to... what am I going to do? Blush. This is my go-to blush. It's the Too Cool for School ARTCLASS By Rodin Blusher in the colour De Roses. It's a Korean brand, but it's in French because I think it sounds fancy. That's my theory. But the colours are like this. Very, very nice. And I'm also going to use my Piccasso Pony 14 blush brush. It's a kind of pointed, tapered tip. It's a flat brush, so instead of, you know, going like this, you just tap tap tap. My fourth topic is my own struggle with body image and self-confidence. This is gonna be fun. It's just me exposing myself. And you really only need a bit of this because it's pretty pigmented, so I just, you know, I do most of it in the center and then I blend it out. When I was at my heaviest, which is actually only in the past 2 years. Yeah, so when I was at my heaviest, this was when the comments about my body started. It first started with, believe it or not, my own family, and then it kind of spread to family friends or people that I knew. I say this as if I don't care about it now, and I say it really nonchalantly, but at the time I was not this calm, to say the least. Yeah, I used to cry a lot because of these comments, but you know, they kind of be comments like, you know, what happened to you? You should really lose weight. And even if I was eating even the littlest bit, people would say, are you sure you should be eating that much? Or you'll really turn into a pig if you eat that. And even when we were taking a picture at our family friend's house. So a grown adult man saying this in front of a crowd, even if it is as a joke, I just don't understand. So the comment that was made at that time was, you know, only pretty skinny people are allowed in this photo. Do you want to excuse yourself? I felt embarrassed, I felt self-conscious, and I also felt angry. So this period really was when my self-confidence was pretty much through the floor. I'm just going to put a tiny bit on my nose, and now I'm moving on to contour. I don't do a lot, but I do a little bit. I take the brush that I was using earlier and I use the light side for my powdering, and then I use the darker side for my contouring. I use the Para. These are all Korean, I'm really sorry, but it's the V shading in Hazel Grey, number 3. Being Korean, I'm looking at images of K-pop idols and female actors. It just knocked back my confidence even more because they all looked so beautiful, and I always felt that, you know, their beauty is way up here in the clouds and basically almost unattainable because they were here and then I'm just here on the ground kind of flailing around like a beached whale. You know, I also got to a point where I compared my smile to people, because my, what do you call these? The corners of your mouth, they don't go up when I smile, you know? And I always used this weirdest thing. I used to compare my teeth because I didn't get braces. I've never had braces, so I have a really big overbite. I have serrated rabbit front teeth, and I also have Dracula canine. I compared myself to them. This was even knowing that I knew that they had a whole team of professionals to help them look effortlessly, there we go, effortlessly perfect and put together. Basically what I've been doing as I was talking is I just take the two darkest colors of the contour, just lightly tap them, and then you just go along the usual places, you know, just under your blush, and then brush against my chin, and then on the forehead I get a smaller brush. This is the MAC 221S. It's a nose contouring brush. It's just basically a thin fluffy brush, and I take the middle color and I go in my eye hole crease. Basically, if you want a sharper looking nose, you pretty much put the most contour here. You shape your nose from here, go down the center of your mouth, and then I start my eyes. I am going to go with the Tarte Toasted eyeshadow palette. This is pretty much my go-to for every day because it just has all your browns and neutrals. I'm gonna take my Piccasso 708. It's basically a flat, rounded brush. I'm going to take the color, okay, we'll start with the color Small. Do a wind swiping motion. I can't fully say that my self-confidence is sky high and that I love myself, because that is just not the case. But it is improving though. Yeah, I always felt a bit cynical because whenever someone would say, oh, you should love yourself and you should be super confident in yourself, I always thought that, you know, the kinds of people who say that, they can say it so easily because, well, they're pretty or they're skinny, so they don't know what it's like. And this was my, you know, judgment and prejudice before I even knew what that person went through personally. But last year I finally decided that I've pretty much had it with this frankly ridiculous vicious cycle that I found myself in, and I made the decision to finally do something about it because I just wasn't happy in the place that I was in. I'm gonna take a bit of latte as well, so I can now safely say that I am in a much happier place than I was just a year ago. Even if I'm not completely satisfied, I can say that I feel a lot happier. Now, this is not me saying, okay, go and do a crazy amount of exercise and go on a diet that you're probably gonna quit after a week because it's really difficult and you're basically eating air. No, that is not what I'm saying, because A, you are not going to be happy after this. I guarantee you. I would know, trust me, I would know. I've tried and I failed at doing the eating air diet. And B, it's not sustainable. You're gonna quit after a week. Again, trust me, I would know. I tried. I think pretty much all of a sudden I felt a switch flick up here in my head where I was asking myself, why do I allow all these comments and opinions from other people who I don't really even care about get to me without actually doing anything about it? I pretty much just stopped caring about what everyone thought. That's when I finally found my self-confidence improving, even if it is just little by little, and run it across the outer corner of my bottom lashes, leave the middle, and then do the front. I am now going to put on some mascara and eyeliner. The Colossal Big Shot Volume Express by Maybelline. This is the waterproof one, I believe. Yes. Curl my lashes first with this Shiseido. That's how it's spelled, so I'm gonna say Shiseido. Eyelash curler. Okay, as I put my lashes into pretty much a death trap. Yeah, so I decided to lose weight. And this is not me endorsing weight loss. This is me taking a decision myself to do something that made me happy. So I officially started losing weight in February, although I had tried before, but again, like I mentioned, I failed because I did the eating air diet, and from February to June I lost about 8 kilos. I'm gonna put on mascara, but I do it from the bottom and I kind of just blink through it. And this is not me saying that everyone should be losing weight, because that is really not what I'm trying to say and the message that I'm trying to get across. The only message that I want to promote is only do things that will make you happy. I really hope that you don't take away the wrong message from this and that you think you have to lose weight in order to be pretty or... But just a side note, if your goal is to actually lose weight like myself, then please do it in a healthy way and not in a way that will damage your long-term health, because that is really important, and you don't want to damage your long-term health for the sake of short-term happiness. That is not what you want to do. If you want to do it in a healthy way, do it gradually, and do it so that it's sustainable and not something that you're going to do for a week and then quit and then feel bad about and then start, you know, vicious cycle. So please do it healthily if you are wanting to lose weight. I'm now gonna do my bottom mascara, and I use, this is one from L'Oreal, but the stuff has been all rubbed off, but I think it's the Telescope one, I might be wrong, but it's just really got a really tiny one that gets my little baby lashes. So here we go. But I'm still continuing to work on myself by working out with my sister. We do little short workouts together, but at the same time I also eat what I want to, but in proportion. That is key. Okay, my bottom lashes are done. Even though it's not perfect and I still have a long way to go and it's not at the level that I want it to be, it is much improved from just a year ago, and I am still learning to love myself and become more confident, so it's a work in progress. I'm going to use the Heroin Mink Smooth Liquid Eyeliner in black. So I start off at the tip again with my eyeliner. My last thing is doing the little blue in the corner of my eye, blue eyeshadow. This is from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and I think it's in the shade Venice. MAC 2197, it's a bullet tip brush. I'm also going to put some concealer in the corner of my eye so that it makes the colours pop. We're going to do this with a Piccasso 505 concealer brush, super tiny concealer brush. Okay, lastly, as I add my finishing touches, I am going to talk about some tips that I found were helpful when I was trying to get my self-confidence back up. Yeah, try to find things that you actually like about yourself. For example, I started off with things that I liked about my personality. I liked that I was a good listener most of the time. I think I'm nice to some extent. So I found out that my camera wasn't recording any of the things that I said, but I basically just stamped the blue eyeshadow into the corners of my eye. My second thing would be, if you feel your confidence is building, move on to something appearance related. Like I mentioned before, I hated everything Korean about my face, but now I couldn't be prouder of my features that make me look Korean, and I couldn't be prouder of my little small tiny country for how far it's come. So I'm super proud to, you know, look Korean. And also, surround yourself with good people. This is such a big thing. This might be an obvious one, but you would not believe the number of people who surround themselves with people who would not do the same for them, who are actually toxic and pretty selfish and self-indulgent people. Yeah, don't surround yourself with these kinds of people. I learned from experience that you're just going to be emotionally drained. You're just not going to have the energy. So just don't do it to yourself, and surround yourself with good people, please. I can pretty much happily say that the people I choose to surround myself with now are pretty much my ride or dies. I love them all so much, and I don't know, they all just make me feel really loved and feel really good about myself, and they also hype me up whenever I'm feeling down or whenever I'm not feeling that great. So yeah, I hope all my friends know how much I love them. I'm gonna stick on some gems. I'm going to do this with some lash glue. Use those comments to motivate yourself to become a better version of yourself, and not just appearance wise but internally as well. Try to become a better person from those comments, and do not let them cripple or break your self-confidence, because if you do that, then you're just letting them basically win and pretty much control your life. So this NARS one in the color Anita, and a lip gloss Perfect Lips by Tony Moly. So this video really is me telling you to do what you think will make you happy, and that is really the only message that I am trying to promote here. If you're one of those people who says these kinds of comments to anyone, please, regardless of whether or not you know the person, whether you say it to their face, whether you say it behind their back, whether you're hiding behind a screen and tapping away on your keyboard, you don't know the toll it's going to take on their mental health through your ignorant comments. So just don't do it. This world already has so many issues of its own. It's already so messed up. So please don't go tearing down other people. If you feel bad about yourself, don't go tearing down other people. If you feel good about yourself, don't go tearing down other people. In this world where we already have so many issues, let's just encourage each other to feel good about ourselves, to be happy, to promote positive vibe. Because honestly, what is the point of trying to make someone else feel bad about themselves and try to tear the other person down? What is the point? Does it make you feel good about yourself? Does it make you feel more powerful? Does it make you feel superior to them? So if that is the case, and it makes you feel good seeing someone else's self-esteem wither away, go get help. So if you have nothing nice to say, I feel sorry for you, but just zip it. Don't say it. Don't go there. Just don't go there. And on that note, I hope you enjoyed this video, even though it was a bit of a long one and I talked quite a bit. But this is the finished look. I will hopefully see you guys again next week.